Hi, I'm Chris from Tom's Outdoors. Today we're going to have a really good look at the new Mont Hypermid. It's got an outer, it's got a half inner, it's got a full inner, it's got a lightweight carbon pole, comes from an Australian brand. I've been using this tent over the last month, bike packing and snowshoeing, two main activities so far. Pretty impressed with it, been giving it a bit of a run through, so today I'm going to share my insights with you. So I'm going to talk about the manufacturer's specs. So just here I've got the Hypermid outer. Now it's 595 grams without any pegs. Now as you can see, it's about the size of a 1 litre Nalgene, probably 20% bigger if we have a look at that. It's nice and light and it's compact. When we talk about inners, we've got two options. We've got the half inner at 446 grams or the full inner at 631 grams. So a little bit of size difference between the two and a little bit of weight. This is the folding carbon pole. It's nice and light. It's 93 grams, but excluding that little piece of rubber. I don't know what that piece of rubber weighs, but the spec is 93 without that. There's got to be a few grams there. All right, so let's talk about bulk. In this hand here, I've got the Hyperlight Ultramid 2, and then I've got the Mont Hypermid. Now the Mont Hypermid is 595 grams. This is 541 grams. But what you can see is there's a significant difference in bulk. You might be talking about twice the size. So on one hand, the DCF is a little bit lighter, but it doesn't compact or pack in as easily as what the Mont material does on the Hypermid. So you're able to actually take up a lot less space with the Mont than you are with the Hyperlight, even though the Hyperlight is lighter. Mont supply these little aluminium pegs, just a standard V peg, do the job like any others. So Mont actually supply pegs with the outer with both inners as well. So you end up with a bit of collection of pegs. The idea is being that you've got the pegs to be able to pitch the inner and the outer separately. The pole. So if you're someone that doesn't walk with poles, then this is a really great option. If you're wanting to use this on a bike packing trip, so say you've bought the Hypermid as an option to do it all, it's your one shelter, you're not like me with half a dozen tents because you like testing tents and you want to have a different tent for every trip, which is probably not the best solution. But anyway, this is a really nice accessory for when you don't want to have to use your walking poles, which I find is probably on about half of my trips. So all pyramid tents take a little bit of pitching. Doesn't really matter which brand they are, trying to get them right. So there we've got an initial first pitch. So we've only got 4 pegs in it. It's a nice looking shape. Looks like a pyramid. It's longer on these two sides. You could go a little bit crazy with guy lines on this if you wanted to. You're not supplied with enough, but you could put 7 guy lines on this. So there's these points here halfway along both of the sides and the back. And then there's this tie point here. Now that will give you a strong shelter in wind. The lightweight pole is great, but maybe potentially if you are looking at pitching this a lot in strong winds and storms, then you may want to be using your trekking poles. Now on the other side of this guy line here is a little tab, and that little tab there will actually help hang the inner and pull the inner out. So these side guys are really quite important in giving you a little bit more internal space. I'm going to throw a peg in one side of the door. That means that I'm going to be able to use the door and still have good structure. I can roll it back. There's a couple of rollbacks. You can roll back both sides of the door. What we've got is a little bit more internal space in it now, just because it's being held out a little bit more. The advantage of using the half inner is the ability to be able to crawl in when the weather's bad. So like I said, Mont supply some more additional pegs for this, but they do have a fairly long adjustment line here, which should mean that I'm able to pick up my other 4 pegs that I've already put on the outside. So that'll make my life a little bit easier. Full inner and the half inner both come with a deep bathtub floor, so you can actually see how deep it is here. And there's these little plastic stiffeners in them, so at the corners. So you get this floor that actually sits up all the way through. You can see it here. If I pull these tight, you know, you've got a really solid rectangle there. I'm just going to come back out. So So hence I'm still getting wet at the moment because as you can see it's raining. So I'm just going to loop these around. So, you know, my inner's not getting wet currently because it's still inside the tent, and I'm just using the same pegs. So once I've got that done, I'm going to tension it up a little bit. So we've got, you can see the bathtub on this is actually wanting to sit up now that we've got it tensioned up. We've got to clip up the top here. So we can really simply just clip it up. On the bottom of the pole here, you can run it like this. And also put a peg in it. And then you've got a fairly large door, really nice small mesh. Now I was talking about, and I missed it, this little inside tab. It's elasticated and it gives you a lot more internal space within the inner. So the great thing about using a half inner if you're a solo traveller is you've got this area here which can be your clean sleep area. So, you know, it's only one man size. You can put your boots out here, your pack out here, you can cook out here if you have to. There's plenty of ventilation as far as that goes. And you've got this area that's dry and clean as a separate area. It's a really nice setup. Ventilation with this thing is pretty good. It sits up high off the ground around there, and there's 2 vents with little stays at the top. You've also got a double zip, so you can undo it from the top and get a bit of ventilation through the top part of the door. And now I'm going to pitch out the full inner. You have to do it before you put the pole in. So I'm actually going to have to take the pole down and then attempt to spread this back out. If you're pitching the full inner, you do actually need to pitch and spread out both at the same time. You're not having to do what I'm having to do here. Yeah, so if you're pitching this in a normal situation, you'd lay out the inner, pitch him up, and then lay out the outer over the top of the inner. On the full inner, the pole has to go on the inside. Attach the side pieces. So it has a clip, but it also has this long section here. That long section there is where your pole goes, or where your trekking pole goes up. And then that corresponds with the top of the pyramid. So, there's our full inner. You can see the pole comes down to the middle, extra reinforced patch. If you're using your trekking poles, you don't want to be using the tungsten carbide tip on here. You'll want to be joining your trekking poles together and having those tips in the middle. So you've got a handle at the top and a handle at the bottom. What's really interesting is there's quite a lot of tension on the top of that, but there's not a lot of tension in here. It's the way that it's actually holding that point and driving it down through the edges. So the pyramid structures are really cool as far as that goes. Nice mesh lining, full size inner, with plenty of space to lie out. Same deal as far as the tub goes, so there's those plastic stiffeners around the outside. So you get this really deep bathtub. Advantage for the full inner is that you can sleep 2 people in here. Clip up a headlamp or a light as well, just make life a little bit more practical. You can roll both sides back. So particularly if you're running the full inner, this is going to give you plenty of ventilation. I've used this tent now on a couple of trips, bikepacking for multiple days. I really like the ability to be able to use the lightweight carbon pole that's nice and compact, fits really well on the bike, as opposed to having to use a trekking pole. Also used it snowshoeing out to 4 Mile Hut up in Kosciuszko National Park, and in that case I was using the pole as a support for it instead of using the lightweight carbon pole. So overall I've had half a dozen nights in the tent so far, pretty impressed. Mid-style tents and pyramid style tents are all the rage at the moment for through hiking and lighter weight hiking. They have a lot of advantages. This is a really nice lighter weight option for those people that are through hiking, trekking or bikepacking where you want to use the carbon pole. So the new Mont Hypermid sits really well in Mont's range, and it's a really nice addition. Overall, Mont have done an amazing job with this product and gives you the option to buy an Australian brand.